I want. Wait. Saw a look of. I just saw your mouth agape.
You like that?
It's his treatment, not mine. Surprisingly, it was it. No, surprisingly, it was not mine.
Holy.
Sound and speed. Is that? Are you trying to retitle? Oh look, they got a clickety clacker. Look at that. Look at that.
Why are we here? Whose place is this?
This house is one of Johnny Depp's houses. I stayed here a lot of times when I was making Sons of Anarchy. I don't know why. I just needed to get away from myself because I wanted to take the acting thing seriously. And it wasn't really just coming here, but it is kind of better than my house. But he said, oh, well, why didn't you just, I had just bought a house. And he said, well, I would just give you this house. And I said, well, you could have told me a week ago. If 1 week ago you could have told me, but thanks. So now I have 2 houses, so that's really awesome. So technically it still belongs to me, but not.
Did you live here on your own when you stayed here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just need to be by myself.
What do you like when you're on your own?
I like quiet. Sometimes it's difficult to sit next to someone and you're just thinking and they say, what's wrong? And you just try to explain, well, I'm thinking, there's nothing wrong. It's just a process of thinking.
Personal time.
Personal time, I had to get up at 7 a.m. every day. So I had to change my environment slightly.
Yeah.
That was the main thing. It was not about getting away from my natural environment. I really just had to be alone and I had to get up and then I had to change my time frame. I remember the first time when you were coming up the street, won't get specific, we know where you live, Johnny Depp, but when he bought his...
I know where you live now too, by the way.
I don't know where you live, but when he first bought his main house, the big one that encompasses the entire street above, it's when I first met Hunter Thompson, and he was really upset about the ruckus that rodeo bar was making down below. So he's like, I want to shoot those motherfuckers. And he had that hand cannon with him. It's like, they're not going to know who it is. They're going to 100% exactly know where it came from.
Without a doubt. So
then we proceeded to try to piss and or upon Johnny's Walk of Fame star that he just gotten. But
you and Hunter Thompson?
But yes, Hunter, Johnny, and me. But the 3 of us could not muster up either or pisses. Right. So we ended up just coming back home.
It's just a very anticlimactic experience, to go out
I
there
know,
and
it's super sad.
none of you to be able to
sad.
actually conjure up what's required in order to successfully defecate on.
Wasn't my idea.
It never is.
Wasn't my idea.
It never is.
That one wasn't mine. It seems like it would be mine, but it wasn't.
He's got a studio, I hear, as well in this area too, so you must have spent quite a bit of time in there.
Yeah, that's usually where we spend the time.
So who rolls in there? Give us an idea about who you played music with or hung out with in that place, because...
Well, Joe Perry also lives nearby. I know where he lives. The night after the Super Bowl, Johnny was playing guitar and Joe Perry was playing guitar. I'm in a room with Joe Perry, Johnny Depp playing guitar, and then Josh Homme's playing drums.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to sing, and I don't even know what song we were making. But Josh Homme was doing a very Queens of the Stone Age sort of beat.
Right.
It stopped in it, and I said, Josh, I'm going to tell you the same advice I told Dave Lombardo from Slayer. Do not make beats that confuse strippers. Because it's not fair to them. Because they have to work for a living, and if you don't scare them.
What did he do?
Well, he sweated a bit, and then he changed his beat to more like...
How did you know what kind of music you wanted to make? Because I think that I'm just trying to put this together, right? We've known each other for a long time.
Yes.
And I've never asked you that. You came from someone who was learning how to play drums, and you were writing notation of that. You came from a heavily religious background that was kind of mixed up in a lot of different ways, and then you developed your own voice. How did you know it was going to sound like it did? That sense of aggression.
Well, I unfortunately got stuck playing triangle in high school band when I left Christian school because I was cast out from putting my grandfather's dildo in the Bible teacher's desk, Mrs. Price. And she wore control top pantyhose. I know this is a tangent, but I'll go with it.
Yeah.
So that probably became the fetish for me in pantyhose and things like that. I put it in the Bible teacher's desk, and I did not realize that when I went to public school, it was the same bus stop, except I was the kid that used to be in Christian school. So I got my ass beat the old-fashioned way, not cyberbullied, just regular bullied, which was not fun. But it was beginning of school, so I was trying to transition. So I joined band, and I started playing the triangle. And that's when I just heard music for the first time in Christian school. They said, don't listen to this. And they played Led Zeppelin backwards, Black Sabbath, and they played Kiss. And but they just were convinced it was Knights in Satan's Service.
I always thought these were just urban myths, but people actually played these records backwards.
Oh yeah, they did. They would have, on Friday, it was called Chapel.
Wow.
It sounds like a cult because it technically would be very hard to differentiate. And that's what I always thought, that when I made Antichrist Superstar, it wasn't railing out against my Christian upbringing, which my parents were not very religious. They were just, they told me they wanted me to go to Christian school to get a better education, probably not knowing that it would create this. Or maybe they did. Maybe they were fortuitous, and they thought, we will create this monster later that people will deal with by sending them to Christian school.
That's
like
some real
sort of some
foresight.
tough
That's
love.
some real vision.
Well, I mean, I'm just giving credit to my dad.
Yeah,
You know.
who passed away recently as well.
Yeah.
But it was touching what you wrote about your dad, man. It really was, and I think it was a really, really lovely tribute.
Well, it's kind of, I would think it's tough to, my last record, Pale Emperor, was dedicated to my mom, because she died. So I didn't think I was going to work with Tyler again because we had a bit of a tiff on stage. Is that a good word for it?
Yeah.
I pulled out a box cutter and pointed at him. So we didn't talk.
Playfully?
No, not really. I mean,
It was a proper...
no, I will. It was really technically because I think I was disallowed to have bottles on stage because I kept making a mess, because I like to smash them. So I asked for a box cutter, and Tyler was getting mad because I spilled a beer, I think, on his pedals. So we got in a little rift where I pulled a box cutter. I think it was a neon green box cutter. We didn't speak for a while. And next time we
What
met,
happened when you pulled it? Did he finish
well,
the show?
He quit.
He quit on the spot.
He quit, yeah. And we met again. We laughed about it. And we sat down.
Do you apologize? Do you say sorry?
Oh, I definitely apologized, almost on hands and knees, like one knee.
Yeah. That's a proposal technically, but...
Bit of,
Are you married?
No, absolutely not. Except to Johnny, gave me this, but I wear it on my middle finger, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
No, I apologized to Tyler, and then the first song we sat down to write was "We Know Where You Live."
Yeah, well.
Because he said to me, he goes, "Do you like Killing Joke?" And I go, "Do I like Killing Joke?" That was the first time I got my face punched in slam dancing, was during a Killing Joke concert. So that was sort of, so why don't we make a record that, and we just started, and it was great that he said to me when we made Pale Emperor, this is just the opening act for the next record,
Well,
which had not been made.
But the shift was really noticeable because I felt like for a few albums, we were looking at someone who didn't want to look at himself in the mirror. That's the artist I saw. I don't know what was going on in your personal life.
I agree.
But there was a lot of smearing going on. There was a lot of shadow, a lot of shade.
I agree.
There was a lot. The eyes were sad, and I was looking at this guy going, you know, okay, I don't see the shoulders back Manson, the guy that came out, kicked the door in, and yeah, you know, you're wearing pantyhose and you look like, but you were like, I look like.
Would you like me to wear pantyhose right now?
You probably are.
I
then,
am.
yeah. But then you came out with a Pale Emperor, and it was like, oh, look at you. Like, okay.
It was a bit of getting, well, what Tyler said to me, we met on the set of Californication,
Right.
which I was also staying in this house when I made, because I had to get into character of being myself on this show. I just like staying here. Come on, it's undeniably,
place.
it's amazing.
It's a nice place.
Tyler said to me when I first met with him that I said, look, I have to admit to myself that I was not exactly the artist I want to be or the person I want to be in the past few years. And I'd like to make something that changed that. And I think that whatever it was that we bonded over, at first he initially said that he tried to score around my voice, the sound of my voice, on the Pale Emperor. And he said that later in an interview when I wasn't there, and I laughed because when I saw it, I said, I sang around his scoring. So we had this perfect relationship. We would record about this far away, like arm's length. I mean, maybe not even, like, maybe your pointer finger right here. And I'm like about this far away, I just have a microphone, have his guitar, his amp set up over here, and you would hear a lot of the bleed through in the microphone on Pale Emperor. And it sounded really raw. It was very Doors, very Stonesy. It was very rock and roll in a way. But it gave me my swagger back, I think. It gave me my confidence to be a singer. And it had very few lyrics, but in a way that it was the only record I've never included the lyrics on.
I think Pale Emperor was a step towards this record, and what I hear on this record is you in very complete form, very engaged with what you're doing. You and Tyler, your partnership now, really, like, you understand each other. And, you know, Where You F***ing Live is just a start, right? The album as a whole, from beginning to end, feels like a complete thought. The first one for some time, I think.
You. Well, I agree with you because I think it's the first record that I've done, I would say, since Hollywood, which is strangely when me and Johnny became reunited as friends.
It's a dark album, though, that one.
It's a very dark
Quite
album
gothy.
made with Dave Sardi at the Houdini Mansion, which is where they filmed Californication.
Right.
In which I hung.
Rick Rubin owns that, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
And and strangely, I met Tyler on Californication.
Right.
So I think it's sort of a strange things.
That happens for you, though, man. You are on.
It's all going
go
around
around
and
and round and round
but
and round.
But I do feel like it's the most complete thought because I'd written all the lyrics out. Strangely, for the first time in one notebook. Normally,
like prose as opposed to songs.
Yes, more like prose. And Tyler would see them, and as opposed to trying to score around my voice, sound of my voice, it was more around the sentiment in the lyrics. So we would do it, but he didn't think about it. It wasn't something that, like, he would spend a night like, oh, okay, I'll get back to you on this. It was more like he would see my lyrics, and he would start writing a song by looking at my words. And it was a different thing, but I didn't know he was doing that at the time.
I like
so
that.
I would just sing. So it was like this real strange, almost intimate thing. It sounds, the more I say about it, the worse it sounds. It sounds a bit like we had a relationship in that way.
Yeah.
In a weird way, but we do. But it's very intense, more than I think some like romantic relationships have been for me.
Of course, man.
Strangely, no, I mean, but this was
Creating
really
is
intimate.
Yeah.
In a different way than ever.
Well, especially when you find someone that I think saves you. Sorry, I think that's the way it feels. It
He
feels
did.
like he saves you.
He saved the day.
Yeah, he saved the day. Like
He
Mighty
did.
Mouse, he came in and saved the day. For all of those people that thought they'd finally done away with Marilyn Manson, here comes
I
Tyler
thought you
Bates.
meant save the day like in a wedding.
I
Save
don't know
the
what I mean
dates.
at the time.
No, but I know what you mean.
There was
I agree with you. I give him full credit for like pointing out to me. He very much like, well, very not in the same way as you, but you don't bull. And he was very much like, listen, I think that this is what you should do. Do you want to work with me? And that's, yeah, I agree. He did save the day.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this. So I've wondered this in the last sort of 7 years or so, because you've kept making music and you've kept playing shows, and there have been times well documented where things just felt like they were really spiraling out of control. There was a show in the UK, the Download Show, which was pretty famous for being pretty difficult.
Was it really bad?
I think it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And, I wondered from your perspective, now that you not that you're someone who looks back, but was there ever a moment when you felt like, wow, I'm losing control?
Yes, of course. It was not just being in a bad place, but I never really liked to watch things I did back.
Okay, well, let's bring it back to how you felt at the time.
But how I felt at the time was I was unhappy. So it wasn't so much about things were going out of control. I didn't know how to control things. So I felt, I mean, if you think about in life, anyone's greatest fear is not having control over your life. And everyone can relate to that. So that's where I started to get back with Tyler when we made Pale Emperor, when we made this record. That record was about emotionally feeling in control and getting back who I really was after said previous 7 years that you talked about. And I agree with you 100%. I don't think that
Was it drugs? Was it alcohol? Was it anxiety? Was it depression?
I think it was, well, it's hard to define it. You know, I tried rehab. They kicked me out almost, basically. But it was
How
a
did you
reset.
get kicked out of rehab?
If you really want to know the story, I'll try to condense it. I was there for about 4 weeks. They talked about God so much. This is when I wanted to quit making music, and I put out Lest We Forget after that. and there was a 90-year-old woman, and I didn't talk to anyone in rehab. And this 90-year-old woman came in, and they took away her hairspray, but she was very beautiful, like sort of fade down away, and sort of. But I said, "Why'd they take away your hairspray? And why are you here?" Well, my children thought I should be here. I said, "Why didn't they buy you a coffin or a boatload of heroin or something? You're 90. You invented this before we were born, before I was born. You were doing more. You're the one who created things like anal sex, drugs. You started that stuff. Why they tried to blame you for it?" She goes, "I don't know." And then they said I was a bad influence. And my dad broke me out, sort of. Well, he didn't break me out. He picked me up.
What did he say to you? What's the first thing he said to you when you got out? Do you remember?
No, he took me to a hotel and he said, "Listen, don't start drinking. Don't get messed up." Because I think at the time, I think it was my mother's sickness was sort of declining, and that had a big effect on me. That could have been maybe part of it. I feel like we're almost in a Hannibal psychiatrist type of situation. Where
This is the gig, man.
No, I know. No, but I mean, that's, you're making me think about things that I haven't thought about. But looking back at it, I think that my mom started to get sick. I think that probably had a great effect on my life, and that probably affected my music. And that's the period in which you were speaking of, which I think that after, when I made Pale Emperor, it was something to make my dad proud. Because at the time, he said, "Whatever you do, promise me you will not fall to pieces and go into rehab or something like that again. Do not turn into a complete disaster."
Yeah.
And I said, "I promised that."
God, the love, man, the love that
And I promised him,
parents
and I
have.
held that promise.
Yeah.
And I held it. I wish he could have heard this record, but you know, I was there when he passed away, and this would be a story that my father would want me to tell you, so that's why I'm telling you. It's in some way, it sucks to have lost my mother during Pale Emperor, but I made that record for my dad to make him proud. And I lost contact. I mean, I didn't lose contact with him. Strangely enough, I met a lot of girls recently in Europe after he died who told me that he Skyped with them in the nude. So I was like, well, but the apple and the tree, very close to one another.
I just think people who don't know you, who don't listen to your music or haven't gone down this journey as a fan of yours or whatever, would look at someone like yourself and think that your whole upbringing was this really dysfunctional, horrible thing, and you're fighting this thing.
I don't think anyone's ever had a great childhood, but I don't think that for me, I would complain that I had a bad childhood.
No, I think it's really.
I had a normal thing that made me who I am, which I'm happy to be. I'm not sad about who I am. I'm not sad about. I will never complain about being. I don't want to be recognized. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be burdened with anything. But I just don't want to be called a celebrity because that's a thing to be called. It's very Hollywood. It's because anyone can become a celebrity.
People would look at you as this person who's existed in and around the perimeter and inside of Hollywood.
No,
for a long time.
I know what you mean, but I just mean like the idea of just being. It's changed over the years.
Right. And now, how? From what you've seen.
Because the internet and because of this life, but it doesn't change everything. It's still essentially the same. It goes back to why I created the name Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Monroe, Charles Manson. Grew up thinking, wow, they're both famous people on magazines. What a perfect combination, abracadabra, Marilyn Manson. It's not that different from Instagram and Twitter or whatever you want to make it. So it hasn't really changed that much. The idea of celebrity is the essence of what the name Marilyn Manson was trying to say. It was and it wasn't at the same time.
You know, I gave you a compliment when we spoke last time, and I said from the heart that I think that what you said in Michael Moore's now infamous documentary, Bowling for Columbine, that what you said went beyond that movie and went beyond that time period and continues to this day to be something I think that people refer to, that need to listen rather than just ignore, to actually try and empathize and understand rather than just condemn. And you told a really interesting story I'd love you to share about how that wasn't even necessarily the intention.
Yeah, it was, for me it was not a scary day, but it was not an unstressful day because everyone I knew was calling me on my Razor phone saying, don't go on stage, my mom, my dad.
Why?
Because there were so many death threats to play back in Denver after Columbine. This is post-Columbine.
Right.
And that's the day that Michael Moore decided to show up to do this interview. So I had no idea. At the time, it was Michael Moore wanted to do an interview about violence and music and things like that.
It wasn't specifically.
It's not called Bowling for Columbine. He interviewed me for about 2 hours. And the clip they used, I will agree that it is very much a window to open up to other people that will say to me at airports, I know you're so smart. And I'll say, I didn't know you're so stupid, but I don't know you. But no, I mean, but they didn't know what was going on that day in my life when you see the movie documentary, that it was like 50 plainclothes police officers following me around at all times because there were so many death threats. So I did the interview, kind of calmed myself down, like, I'm doing this. And my phone rings again, and it says Hunter Thompson. I pick it up, I'm like, hey man, what are you doing? He's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm at Mile High Stadium, I'm about to go on the stage. He goes, don't do it. Just come to my house. It's out of the city. We got a tank. Come there, we'll be safe. I have to do a show. Classic Hunter.
So let's talk about why we're here to a certain degree, is because your timing is pretty impeccable. I don't know if you can't really say it's even your timing, it's just the way things go. You stick around long enough and you keep kicking, right? And you've kicked yourself into a room with Tyler Bates and made this incredible new record. And at the same time, the world is going to and I don't say that in a way that I'm like, I'm despondent about it, but it's in a bad place. And much like to my memory, how the 90s felt, which was in a very bad place.
Where I started.
Yeah, that's right. And so there's something to compare there, and it also makes sense that there are certain artists coming out now that are carrying with them a similar spirit. And we're talking about Uzi Vert, and we're talking about some of these young rappers that are coming out. We're also talking about some of the young directors that are making movies. People seem to be making things that are thankfully reflecting the times that we live in, and you are a name that keeps popping up.
Thank you for putting me in that spectrum
of
history. No, I mean, it's nice to know that I made a dent, that happened to be involved in other things. Not necessarily bad or good, but just thanks for mentioning that. But, I could have easily said, you know what, I made my mark. I could just cash out, not be. A lot of, every singer wants to be an actor, every actor wants to be a singer.
Yeah.
It's a very classic thing. Not the same situation with me and my other friends. And it was interesting when I met little Uzi Vert, because I was told about him, and I didn't really know what it's going to be like. But he reminded me so much of me when I started.
Why?
Just his attitude is not careless, but very specifically, you for this reason. It's not just you all, it's you for this reason. And I was hoping and praying in some weird way. I don't pray, but you know what I mean. I was hoping for this new record they put out. I was so pleased with it. I called him, I said, nailed it like Jesus. Nailed it like Jesus.
Have you ever had a relationship with drugs? I mean, like a very serious, that's a strange question, but
not a romance with drugs. I've always said, as he drinks a sip of water flavored vodka.
Vodka light.
No, I've had a lot of friends die from heroin, so I never did it. Never wanted to. Crack. Whitney Houston said it was whack, so I didn't do it. Meth. I watched Breaking Bad, so I know that makes your teeth really ornery. So those are like 3 drugs you avoid just by common sense. But when you do go to the rehabs, it's very simple. You can't put them all together in one category. Alcohol, pot, cocaine makes you just less rich. Like I said, it's so poor, it makes you less rich.
But from the footage of Defiant Ones, did you like Defiant Ones, by the way?
I did.
That was
I
amazing.
did. I like Defiant Ones because it also made me think about Trent, and it made me reach out to him because he's the one who's actually sent me an email, and we had sort of mended ways after a long time about through Tyler Bates, strangely enough. I think it was at some, probably an award show based on scores or something. I think, I don't remember the occasion, but he emailed me and said, so I'm just passing this song from Jimmy. So I can say I did it. He goes, and he said in the email something along the lines of, it really pisses me off that music's not dangerous anymore. And it reminds me of how great you were and I was in the time, the era, because Nine Inch Nails was obviously huge to me. And to have Trent Reznor, like, meet him, interview him, and to sign me, it was a big impact on my life. So all of the past, any sort of squabbles or any arguments or disagreements, that just went away. Especially seeing that in Defiant Ones and him telling me about it. He said, by the way, check this out. It's my face on the side of the Soho House
It
building.
was huge.
It was a big face.
It was huge. It was
They
like
started calling me
9
Building Face.
stories big.
That was my nickname for the week, Building Face.
Would you like to collaborate in some respects with Trent again, even if it was some soundtrack work or something of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're playing a show with them. It's 2 nights in a row. And we've been speaking about things. I don't know what will happen. I would love to, yeah. I mean, he taught me how to do a lot of things. And I'm not going to elaborate on that because you're going to go weird on that one. No, he taught me a lot of what I know about music.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. What is dangerous now then? If Trent said to you, I miss when music was dangerous, and you're still here, Trent's still here, Eminem's still here, a lot of people that were making music back then that was dangerous are still here, Dre.
Rihanna, dangerous. I had this conversation with Tom White prior to this video coming out, and he said, well, who do you want to compete with, like, in music and things like that? I said, Rihanna. Bitch Better Have My Money video. That's a hardcore video.
That's a hardcore video.
All of her videos are. I love that video the most. A, because it's hardcore. B, because it puts a bitch in a having a money type. And C, because Mads Mikkelsen of Hannibal TV show, my favorite show, is in it. And then D, if I'm still doing letters, that she swings a girl naked, back and forth, gives her crack, kills her, and has a yacht. She's a flare gun, and somehow my video is more offensive.
Can kids be shocked these days? Because right now we have this
I don't
thing
know.
where there's this thing, wow.
Put their finger in a toaster, it might work.
Sure, but they're looking to you right now as somebody who's inspired them on a level of not only darkness and emotion and honesty, all those things present.
When you say kids?
Yeah, okay,
I
so
mean, interrupt you,
younger
sorry.
artists, artists who are influencing kids their own age, so people in their late teens going into early 20s, are looking to what you did in the 90s and beyond throughout your career, and the fact you're still here and you become a renaissance man to a certain degree. Your honesty and emotion, you pull the darkness out, you share it with the world, and you don't sugarcoat it. Now, that's at a time, we touched on this before, where social media and YouTube and the Daily Mail and all these things are flooding us with horror, right? Stuff that would have seemed inconceivable even in the 90s that we would be digesting on a daily basis. So what shocks now?
I think that was never the point. There's nothing really shocking except what's happening around you. You digest it, and if you try to make something that makes a statement that is more interesting than what's happening around you, then you did something good. So it's a perfect time to make something that I saw your mouth agape when you watched the video, and you're watching what's happening around us in America, and that made me really happy to see you going. Hopefully people remember this a day after they watch it, but people have started to somehow turn into a fishbowl with a goldfish. They have this 3-second memory. Things very ephemeral.
Yeah.
And it seems to be, I don't rely on my fans that knew things I did before when I made this record as much as I want to make people like things in the way I did when I made my first record. I had to realize, okay, no one knew my music when I first made it, and they seem to like it. So I should have the same attitude. Not trying to appease anyone, rather than just make something that is something that they would like, something that would move them, or would hate, either way. But something that would make a difference.